Jesus Christ has come into this house tonight, and he's looking to gather up the fragments that remain of your life. The fragments that remain of your marriages. The fragments that remain of your ministries. The fragments that remain of your friendships and your relationships. All of these things that have been shattered because of life and things that just happen sometimes. And sometimes God puts us through trials and then it breaks us, it shatters us. But I just believe that God is coming to this house to say, gather up these fragments that have remained, because nothing's going to be lost. Nothing's going to be lost. You might be a little cracked and you might be a little broken, but he still has a purpose for you tonight. And he is still picking up the fragments if you'll allow him to. And he will make you whole tonight. That is the promise. That's the promise. I want to read you a story real quick. It says, a water bearer in India had 2 large pots, each hung on an end of a pole, which he carried across his neck. One of the pots had a crack in it, while the other pot was perfect and always delivered a full portion of water. But at the end of the long walk from the stream to the master's house, the cracked pot always arrived only half full. For 2 full years, this went on daily, with the water bearer delivering only 1.5 full pots of water to his master's house. Of course, the perfect pot was proud of its accomplishments, and he was proud that he can deliver a full pot of water each and every trip. A perfect pot. But the poor cracked pot was ashamed of its own imperfections and miserable that it was not able to accomplish what the full pot was able to do. It was only able to do half. But after 2 years of what it perceived to be a bitter failure for this cracked pot, this cracked vessel, it spoke to the water bearer one day by the stream and said, I'm ashamed of myself and I want to apologize to you. Why? Asked the bearer. What are you ashamed of? He said, because I've only been able for these past 2 years to deliver only half of my load, because this crack that I have in my side causes the water to leak out all the way back to your master's house. Because of my flaws, you have to do all of this extra work and you don't get the full value from your efforts, the pot said. But the water bearer felt sorry for this old cracked pot. But he took notice of the sun warming the beautiful wild flowers on the side of the path, and it cheered him up a little bit. This cracked pot was so broken because he wasn't able to accomplish what his master set out for him to do. But the water bearer had already planned for this. He saw the imperfections. He said back to the pot, did you notice that there were flowers only on your side of the path, but not on the other side, the pot side? That's because I've always known about your flaws, but I took advantage of it, and I planted flower seeds on your side of the path. And every day while we walk back from the stream, you've watered them. For 2 years, I have been able to pick these beautiful flowers to decorate my master's table. Without you being just the way that you are, he would not have this beauty to grace his house. He loves you for exactly who you are. There's nothing more that you have to be for him. He needs you exactly the way that you are. He created you for a purpose. I know life gets you down sometimes and might break you and bend you and leave shattered fragments of your ministry and your heart laid out everywhere. But he still has a purpose for you, and he's still picking up those fragments that remain on the side of the ground because he's making a masterpiece tonight. You might be a little cracked, but he still has a purpose for you. And he's picking up those fragments because you are to be made whole. You are to be made whole. Jesus is calling for all of the fragments that remain in our life. And I know I'm among those tonight that might need the Holy Ghost. And there are those that came here with a mask covering the hurt and the shame that they've been covering up for months. And I know I'm in the presence of great men and women of God who may have came here prayed up and ready for some hooping and hollering. But I know that there is some here tonight that have just barely made it through those doors because of the pain that you've been suffering from and the shame that's kept you locked up and bound. But I'm here to tell you tonight that the fragments that remain, He is gathering those. He's gathering them tonight. You don't have to live defeated. You don't have to live suffering and in shame because you're not complete. That's okay because He loves you just the same. He went to the cross to make you whole. And He wants to make you whole. That's why He's gathering up these fragments and He's gathering them back together, because that's what a potter does best. When there's a broken vessel, they break them completely down, shatter them, and then remake it the way that He wants to make it. And that's what He's doing in this house tonight. And that's what He wants to do for some of us in this place tonight. If we will allow Him to do that, He will do that for you. You don't have to leave this place the same way that you came. There is a way out, and there is hope for tomorrow. Please know that God never promised us that we wouldn't have to fight, and that we wouldn't be broken sometimes, and that we wouldn't be shattered sometimes. But He did promise you that they might bend you and they might break you, but I'll be here to put you back together again every single time. That's the promise. That's the promise to you. In 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 7 through 9, it says, but we have this treasure in earthen vessels. We have something inside of us that the world doesn't have. We have something inside of us that's far value than what we're going through and what we're facing. But it goes on to say that the excellency of the power may be of God and not of us. We are troubled on every side. Listen to me tonight. Listen to this preacher tonight. We are troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but we're not in despair. We may be persecuted, but we're not forsaken. Cast down, but we're not going to be destroyed. Because no weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord. So the weapon might indeed be formed against you, but it's not going to prosper. It might shatter you, but it's not going to prosper, because He's going to put you back together again. Jesus is gathering up the fragments that remain, the broken pieces of our life. After every trial and after every storm, there's been fragments that have broke off of us. Pieces that have broke off of us. And it was the will of God then. It was the will of God. So that way He can rebuild you and remake you and to make you into this person that He needs for His kingdom in this last day. Because He needs men and women of God in this last hour. Because there's a city full of hurting and broken people that need you whole. I'm sorry, I'm skipping through this, but I want to get to the meat of this tonight. In John chapter 5, verse number 6, this is where I'm going. Put that on the board. When Jesus saw him lie, John chapter 5, verse number 6. When Jesus saw him lie and knew that he had been now a long time in that case, He saith unto him, wilt thou be made whole? I say that to you tonight. Will you be made whole? That's what I thought I'd get out of that. Will you be made whole? That choice is yours tonight. It's not mine to make for you. It's not the pastors to make for you. It's not the bishops to make for you. That choice for you to be made whole is in your hands. Because God's asking the question tonight, are you willing to be made whole? Are you willing to let go of all the hurt and all of the pain and all of the things that have caused you to be broken for so long to be made whole, Brother Garrett? Are you willing to let go of the revenge? Are you willing to let go of the revenge to be made whole tonight? Are you willing to let go of that? Are you willing to let go of the hate that you have to that person that did it to you? Are you willing to forgive that person that shattered you to be made whole? That left you high and dry. Are you willing to forgive them to be made whole? Because that choice is yours. Because God's doing his part. He's gathering up the fragments. Every time they broke you, every time they shattered you, he swept up the fragments and he swept them up. Because there is going to come a day that my son and my daughter is going to come to this altar and pour out everything that's inside of them. All the hatred, all the bitterness, all the things that have caused, that have just they've held on to. Because I'm going to remake them one day with those broken pieces. All of those pieces and the things that they've got left behind that they thought nobody else would see or that nobody else would care about. God kept picking up the fragments because he knew that there was going to come a day that you would answer the call. Will you be made whole? That's what he's waiting on. That's what he's waiting on. Matthew 11:28-30. I know I'm skipping some. It says, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." If you want change, and if you want to be whole, that choice is yours, because he's willing to do it. He's willing to do it for you tonight. Brother Garrett, would you hand me that sword? That sword behind you, Brother Garrett. I asked for this on purpose. Everybody see what's in my hand? Does it look shiny? Does it look brand new? Does it? No. It's rusted. It's beaten. And it's broken. But it still has worth. But that's not why I wanted this. I wanted this because Thursday night I saw something. I believe it was Thursday night. I didn't know if I was having a vision or I was just starting to see stuff. But I believe it was of God. All the men that are standing right there, all of these fine young men that were standing right here, got there a little early on Thursday night. And we started having worship service. And they began to place their Bibles one-on-one on top of each other right here. One-on-one on top of each other. And I looked over at it. Something clicked in my head. And I saw a barrel full of rusty old swords. The handles were rusted. The shine wasn't silver anymore. It didn't shine like it used to, Brother Rayburn. And something clicked in my head. This is the ministries that you've let down because you've been broken. The people in this house, these are your swords. They're rusting because you're bound by hurt and you're bound by wounds. Will you be made whole tonight? Will you be made whole? But I came here tonight to tell you to pick the sword up. Pick it up. Because you have a ministry, you have a calling, and you were designed to do something great for the kingdom of God. It's not time to put the swords in the barrel and call it quits. It's time to pick up the swords and polish these things and go out and do the work that you were called to do. Nobody else was designed for your sword. That sword was made specific to you and to your ministry. That's your sword. It was handcrafted for you, not for me, not for these young boys. That sword was handcrafted, designed for you. You can stand tonight. Come here, Brother Roark. I don't do this. I don't call people out. But I feel this tonight. You need to pick it up. You have a work to do. You have a work to do. There's some more in this house. You need to pick up your sword. You need to pick up your sword. Because I know you were shattered and I know you were broken. But his yoke is easy and his burden is light. And he said he's picking up the fragments, all of the fragments that remain from every battle you've been in, all the fragments that remain from every time you fought and you feel like you couldn't get up again, every time you went to your bed and soaked your pillow in tears because you were broken and you were hurt. He's got a plan. Pick up the sword. Is there anybody in this house that's tired of living broken and wounded? Will you be made whole tonight? Will you be made whole? Are you willing to be made whole tonight? Are you willing to put self aside and get out of the way so you can be made whole? Are you willing to pick up the sword again? Are you willing to fight one more time? Are you willing? Because it's in your hands. The choice is yours. Musicians, you can come. I'm getting out of the way here. I'm getting out of the way. Brother Willie, I want you to keep holding on to that. Though it got a little rusty, though it got a little rough along the way, you still have a purpose. You still have a calling. And you still have a ministry to do. So pick up that sword. Pick up your sword and polish it off. Because now is the day. Today is the day. Why wait another second for those of you who are standing and waiting? Why wait? We don't have time to wait because hell is filled with men and women that said, I'll wait until the next preacher. I'll wait until the next service to get it right and to pour it all out at the altar and to give him my everything and to give him all of the fragments and to give him my sword so we can polish it off. I'll wait one more time. Hell is filled with those that have waited. Hell is filled with those that have waited. I'll wait until my bills are paid, and I'll wait until my family is back in the house of God. I'll wait until I feel it. You don't have time to wait. Oh, you don't have time to wait. Now is the time. Today is the day of salvation, and the gift of the Holy Ghost is yours now. That broken family can be complete. That broken marriage can be complete. But will you be made whole? Are you willing to let go? Are you willing to let go? The altars are open tonight. The altars are open. Are you willing to let go? Let it go. And pick up the sword. It's time to fight again. But first, it's time to be made whole.
to life.
It's time to be made
What
whole.
was lost inside of me.
Time and chance happens to us all. There's nothing we can do that can control that. But we can't control when it's time to be made whole. We can't control when it's time to surrender. To surrender all the hurt and all the pain, all the bitterness, all the anger that we've pent up. We choose to surrender that.
Bringing to life what was lost inside of me.
The fragments that remain. He's picking them up. Let nothing be lost. Because that's how perfect our God is.
With grace like a river, it washes me clean, bringing to life what was lost inside of me. I'm beautifully broken, perfectly scarred. Your love overwhelms me. I am never too far. With grace like a river, it washes me clean, bringing to life what was lost inside of me.